Heard around the world by everybody and their mama. The Jesse Lee Peterson Radio Show.
Last week, I appeared on Sean Hannity's show, Fox News there. As a matter of fact, that morning I did his radio show, and that evening, the same day, I did his TV show, talking about the shooting in South Carolina where a white officer shot a black man in the back and killed him. We saw this on video. There was an outrage about it. I debated Leo Terrell, and Leo is a black liberal attorney, civil rights attorney here in LA. And I've debated Leo several times in different situations. But Leo had a hissy fit and just put his tail between his legs and ran off studio there, out of the studio. But anyway, all hell broke loose. Everybody and their mama from around the world is responding to that interview. And Twitter, folks went wild on Twitter about that. I have with me Tariq Nasheed. Mm-hmm. And Tariq is a director, radio host, and author based in LA. He is a relationship expert and social commentator. He's directed black-focused documentaries, Hidden Colors 1, 2, and 3, and has written several dating books. I didn't realize you gave advice on dating and that you're here in L.A.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, that's how I got started. I started doing relationship books, and my books became bestsellers, and then I ventured off into documentary films.
How old are you?
I'm old enough to play a high schooler and old enough to play a high school teacher. So I say that. I don't know.
Oh, you're a teacher?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying. Just saying.
And you have a radio show here in L.A.?
I do. The Tariq Elite Radio Show, TariqRadio.com.
All right. That's great, man. And we'll get that out again before you leave. I'm glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
I really am glad you're here. I want to know, do you consider yourself conservative or liberal? Or
I don't get into I don't do the partisan thing. Because I am a empowerment type of person. I'm into melanoid empowerment. People who are of melanated descent should be empowering themselves. And we live in what's called a system of white supremacy. And in that system of white supremacy, there is no Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal. There's only white supremacy and different branches of white supremacy. And that's what I challenge.
How do you encourage people of color to empower themselves by doing what?
Number one, knowing who they are, educating themselves on their history, educating themselves on how to empower themselves economically, and understanding how to create prosperous families who are about empowering the whole entire family.
Do you are you a Christian?
I'm non-denominational. I'm actually a ordained minister, but I'm non-denominational.
Oh, okay.
Because African people of African descent, we've always been spiritual people. So I really focus on the spirit of people instead of the particular religion, because a lot of the religions are man-made constructs, and the religions can be used to subjugate people. So your spirit is something that I really focus on. You either have a good spirit or bad spirit.
And when you say non-denominational, do you mean non-denominational Christian?
No, just no
particular religion.
No Christian, Buddhist. I just don't claim a particular title like that.
You have a church?
I don't. I just go around the country, and not just the country, go around the world doing my thing.
You saw my appearance on Sean Hannity.
Yes.
So, I got to ask this. You're the starter of the Coon Train?
Yes, I created the Coon Train videos.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I've been hearing about this Coon Train thing for a while, and I think one of my staff members found it and showed it to me. That's an excellent idea.
Yeah.
How did you come up with that, and why?
I would just see a lot of people, whenever black topics come up, there are a lot of the white supremacists are very good at deflecting, so they would usually get black people to do the white supremacist rhetoric for them so that the white supremacists could not be called racist. So that's what I call the Coon Train, black people who will jump in front of white supremacists and protect them by spewing out a bunch of white supremacist talking points like, what about black on black crime? Well, all white people are not bad. all white people are not racist. Black people need to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. So that's what the coon train is. Basically a bunch of black people who are put in front of the masses by the white supremacists to regurgitate white supremacist talking points so that the white supremacists won't be labeled as racist.
So if I hear you correctly, a coon is a black person, right?
No. See, certain words have different definitions based on who's saying it. When a black person calls somebody a coon, it's based on an action. That's a verb. The white supremacists, all black people are coons to the white supremacists. So it's a noun to the white supremacists. But when a black person says it, it's talking about an action that a person is taking. So cooning is a verb.
And are there white coons?
Well, you don't have white people who go off code too much, because a coon is somebody who's really jumping in front of people who are trying to sabotage their race and protecting the people who are trying to sabotage their particular race. So you very rarely have white people who do that with the white community. You understand what I'm saying? There was a video that came out recently of a guy who called himself a redneck, and he's a white gentleman, and he was calling out white supremacy, which is very rare, but it was a very good thing that he did that. And a lot of people criticized him within the dominant white society. So white people are criticized for speaking against systematic white supremacy, just like a lot of black people are criticized for speaking out against what some would consider cooning.
So a coon is a black person who jump on black and white issues, and they seem to be supporting the white folks.
A coon is basically a black person who's trying to get brownie points, or who's paid, or who's just trying to get a pat on the head from the dominant white society by throwing other black people under the bus. That's the working definition of what a coon is when it comes from the black community.
And most of the times, the coon is disagreeing with most black Americans on certain issues.
But the coon is agreeing with most white supremacists, though. So the coon is not doing anything that's particularly radical or outside of the box. The coon is basically regurgitating centuries-old talking points that the white supremacists have put out there, like black people don't have no morals, black people don't have no family values. Those are old white supremacist taglines that they've used to subjugate black people.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, when black people start saying that, that's basically a form of cooning, because they're just trying to get brownie points from the white supremacists.
The black people who are, quote-unquote, cooning, do they attack the blacks who are not cooning in the same manner that the blacks attack the cooners?
I don't understand. What's the
Let's
question?
say that the blacks who are disagreeing with black Americans say that black people need to do this and do that to get better. Do those blacks attack other blacks in the same manner that they are being attacked?
Yeah, well, the thing is, there's a difference between attacking and criticizing, because I criticize a lot of stuff that goes on in the black community, but I don't do it for the entertainment or the betterment or the enjoyment of the dominant white society. I do it because I want the black community to be better. A lot of times black people who are coons will get in front of white people and say, hey, look at those blacks over there. They need to do better. So basically they're just trying to get brownie points, and they're not even speaking constructively to try to really help the black community. They're just trying to get that pat on the head from the dominant white society.
So I'm on your coon train.
Yes, you are. You were on the first one. You were getting it in on the first one, too. Yes.
And the thing I like about being on there, you really have me dancing really well.
You were getting it in.
And the last time I've been able to dance that good was in my 20s.
Oh, there you go.
So I do appreciate that. I say that most black Americans, not all, but most, are suffering due to the lack of moral character and not white racism, in that the family is destroyed. Black men are not there for the most part married to the black woman, and they are raising their children in the right way to go.
Okay. Now can we unpack that?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to a commercial real quickly?
We'll take a break and we'll come back and pick up on that.
Okay.
I want to know, is there coonery in that
statement?
All right. And we're going to get to your phone calls, 888-77-JESSE. Okay, folks, welcome back. Tariq Nasheed is here. And after my appearance on Sean last week, Tariq, you tweeted out, did y'all see Jesse Lee Peterson on Fox News talking about Walter Scott? he took the train to another level. You also you put me on the first train, Coon Train.
Yes.
Video alongside Alan West, Clarence Thomas, Larry Elder, and Herman Cain. All those guys are such noble guys, and yet they're on your Coon Train.
Okay.
So I asked just before the break, for the last 25 years, my nonprofit, we have been rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. We work with all men, but the focus is on the black man. We bring these guys in from around the country. We show them how to overcome anger. If they haven't finished school, we help with that. We help find jobs, start businesses, and we also help them to get a trade, start a trade, learn a trade if they don't want to go to college. And we now have started a school, private school for boys and girls, educating them. And we want to unite the races, and we want to rebuild families. Where is the coonery in that?
There's no cooning in rebuilding families. But the thing is, the cooning is trying to say that the family breakup is the reason why there's so much degradation going on in the black community. And the so-called family breakup only happened in the 1960s, really right after 1964. Before 1964, the majority of black families were together.
Right.
And you still had to deal with white supremacy. Back going to the 1950s, the 1940s, the 1920s, the early 1900s, there was a still disproportionate high crime rate. Black people were still funneled in what's called ghettos, especially during the first Great Migration when black people moved to the northern cities. They were living in the ghetto area, so to speak, because the white people moved out of those areas because of segregation. So black people, even when the family is together, we still have to deal with white supremacy. And unfortunately, brothers such as yourself, you guys just totally ignore the factor of white supremacy and just try to blame it on something that happened later on down the line, which the whole family breakup was because of systematic white supremacy as well.
I grew up, and you probably know this already, but for those who might not be aware of it, I grew up down in Alabama. We were just talking about during the break, you lived there for a while in Birmingham.
Yep.
But I grew up in Alabama, and I grew up under the Jim Crow laws.
Absolutely.
I remember for colors only signs, for whites only. Went to a movie theater once down in Eufaula, Alabama, and blacks had to sit in the balcony because we were not allowed to sit with white Americans. But the thing that we had going for ourselves as black folks during those days is that the family was together. Husband and wives were together. They taught their children how to respect themselves and others. They worked hard. They saved their monies. They had businesses. Even during those days, many black people owned land.
Absolutely.
And all those things. And it wasn't until the Civil Rights Movement started and under Lyndon B. Johnson that the government came in and offered black people welfare. We're going to take care of you. You're not able to do it yourself.
But why did black people have to take welfare?
Yeah, I'm going to answer that in a minute. And so, but they said you cannot have a father in the home.
Absolutely.
And they did that because they understood that if you remove the father from the family, there is no spiritual head or protection or provider for the women and children, and that they will, for the most part, have to end up on welfare,
Right.
being on the government. And that's when the breakdown started. But when the family was together, you didn't have crime in the black community such as we see today. You didn't have out-of-wedlock birth such as we see it today.
We didn't have out-of-wedlock birth, but we did. The crime rate was still disproportionately high. See, that's something that a lot of people overlook.
No, you're making a good point.
Right, because you had all black chain gangs going all the way back to the 1920s. So the black crime rate was higher. Why was it higher? Not because of the family breakup. More things were illegal for black people to do. If black people, there's a drinking fountain sign right here I'm looking at. If we drank out of a water fountain, that was illegal. If we looked out of a window, that was illegal as black people.
Black people did better because those type of situations forced blacks to stick together as a family unit, to have
but
faith. But
even though we stuck together, we were still criminalized, weren't we?
Yeah, it was rough in that, the laws were against us, but because the family unit, that order of God was there, God in Christ, Christ in man, man over woman, woman over children, the family did better as far as economic economically than they are today because their father was there. Now up north,
but how can you? But in a system
north,
of white supremacy, doing better, we need to eradicate the system of white supremacy. Like Malcolm X said, "Don't stick a knife in my back 9 inches, pull it out 6 inches, and say that's progress." The knife is still in our back, sir.
Well, Malcolm X did say that when he had anger against the white man, he joined the Nation of Islam. But once he
who wouldn't have anger over Jim Crow at the time?
I know, but let me make the point.
Right.
Once he went over to Mecca,
right.
He realized that there are all people who are working together and some are not, right? And he realized that the white man wasn't his enemy, so he dropped that anger. He came back, and he started to expose the Nation of Islam founder, and the name would not come to me right now, as cheated with these women in his religious organization.
Just like JFK did with Marilyn Monroe and all those people too, which people like to leave out.
But according to Malcolm X, his life was threatened, and according to his book, he was taken out by the Nation of Islam. My point is, up north, you're right, when blacks moved from the south to the north, they did move into those projects. No.
When they moved to the north, they were put into the project. They didn't move into it. They were put into the project by the government.
But why did the black man allow that to happen?
We're under military control. We've been outgunned. It's not that you allowed it to happen. You are outgunned in this country. We're subjects of white supremacy. We've been militarily defeated. So you can say, I'm not going to allow this to happen, but when the U.S. they pull out the tanks and the guns on you, what are you going to do?
So are you saying that blacks, when they moved from the south, were forced into into those projects by the military?
Yes, absolutely.
The military,
the government, which is backed by the military.
I noticed that my parents...
Tulsa, Oklahoma is a great example, by the way. Tulsa was a very prosperous area where black people were millionaires, black people were doing great, and the white supremacists came and just tore the community down. The government flew in planes and actually bombed the place. So the government is definitely part of that. The subjugation of African people whenever we have progress. And also, whenever there were prosperous areas in the black communities, they would just build freeways right through these areas, just especially out here in Los Angeles. They built freeways through the Central Avenue district, which was a prosperous African-American district.
My parents moved to East Chicago and Gary, Indiana. My uncles and aunts moved up there from Alabama. And none of them moved into the project. They all had their own homes. They all were working. My mother had 9 kids, and she stayed home throughout the whole time of raising them.
When was this?
This was, let me see, I left in 68. So this was during the 50s and 60s.
Okay.
And none of my relatives lived in the project. They all bought homes. They worked at the steel mill, Inland Steel, and other places. They did not end up in the project because my father and my stepfather and my uncles and aunts would not allow that to happen. Why did the black man, you saying the military forced the rest of them into the project?
Government, which is backed by the military. I'm talking about the government, the U.S. government. For example, after World War II in the 1950s, the government specifically gave VA loans and FHA loans to white people and denied black people systematically of those loans. And this created so-called white flight, which was government-backed. So white people were allowed to move into the so-called suburb areas. These leasing agreements were specifically stating that black people couldn't move
I've never
there.
heard that the military made them do that. But let me ask you this.
It's militarily backed, sir. That's what I'm saying. You're making it seem like they went in there with guns and okay, did you put the music on me, brother? Y'all put the music on me.
It's break
boy,
time
y'all
again.
slick. Boy.
No, look at the clock.
when I'm going there, y'all.
We'll let you finish.
Right.
I mean, no, it's the bottom of the hour break.
Okay, all right.
Also, I want to take some calls for you as well.
Now, y'all going to have some troll calls, some pre-planned troll calls. Don't have that, brother.
No,
all right.
I'm not
I know you larger than that, brother.
Back in a moment. All right, folks, welcome back. We are here Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific time, 9 to noon Eastern time, heard around the world by everybody and their mama, and I do appreciate it. Tariq Nasheed is here and talking about my appearance on Sean Hannity and the Coons. Why is Alan West and Clarence Thomas, Larry Elder, Herman Cain, and others, why are they coons?
Because, again, a lot of these people are put into the limelight by the white supremacists to basically regurgitate the white supremacist talking points so that the white supremacists cannot be labeled racist. That's an old trick. That goes back to the meritorious manumission laws of the 16 and 1700s, where they would reward black people for throwing other black people under the bus. That's old.
And by the way, Elijah Muhammad was the founder of the
Nation of Islam.
Nation of Islam, and that's who took, according to what we read, took Malcolm X out because he revealed what they were about.
But we don't know that. But the white supremacists took Malcolm X out. Malcolm even knew that the FBI was following him.
Malcolm
they
said
were tapping
it was,
his phone.
Malcolm said it was from Elijah. But I don't want to waste time on that.
But Malcolm later on, he said that the sophistication of the surveillance was way beyond the means of the Nation of Islam, and he knew it was bigger than that. Yes, he did say that. Yes, sir. Okay,
but
yes, he did, sir.
Look, because of time. So the coons are the blacks who make it on their own. They think for themselves. Is it hard to believe that black people...
That's your definition, by the way. Your definition.
Is it hard to believe that there are black people who can think and do for themselves and see what's wrong and express it without being a coon?
But how do you think for yourself when you're regurgitating white supremacist talking points?
So I'm asking first, is it a black person who thinks and do for themselves, or
no?
Is it possible for black people to do that without being a coon?
Well, you can think for yourself, but regurgitating white supremacists, because you're regurgitating white supremacist talking points and you're not thinking for yourself, you're becoming a puppet for white supremacy.
Give me an example of thinking for quote unquote white supremacists.
Well, we're regurgitating white supremacist talking points.
Like
again,
what,
the whole
example?
Family structure, that's a white supremacist talking point.
Okay, let's deal with that. Hold on. Let's deal with that one thing.
Let's deal with that.
Is the family structure broken in a bad way in the black community?
It's broken nationwide.
In the black community, right?
In the black community, it is broken.
Right.
Since 1964.
And so why is it coonery to say that?
Because it's coonery to say that that's the only problem, and it's not racism.
No
because
one
that's
said
what you
that's
said.
the only
You
problem.
did say
it's the number one problem.
But you said it wasn't racism. You said it wasn't white racism. It's the black family structure.
Right.
But the problem with the black family structure is because of white racism. And also, when the black family was together, we still had to deal with white racism. So
why don't you?
My question is, why don't you ever criticize white supremacy? In your eyes, can white people do any wrong?
And I'll answer that, but I want to ask this. I will answer that.
Yeah, you keep deflecting, brother.
Yes, whites can do wrong. But my focus is to wake up black Americans to rebuild the family, to get away from the government, to start, as we did prior to the Civil Rights Movement, doing for themselves.
But we still have to deal with white supremacy. We can do that, but after we do that, what are we going to do about white supremacy?
What is the best way to deal with quote-unquote white supremacists?
Black empowerment.
And what is black empowerment?
Economic empowerment. That's one thing that
to build a family, build character, build your own businesses.
Build your own economics, exactly. Right. And we have to understand that the white supremacists, they've always sabotaged that in the black community. So that's something that we can't ignore. We can't just say, well, it's just the family we need to build up. When we build up the family, what are we going to do about the white supremacists out here? No. Trayvon Martin didn't get shot because of a family structure.
I want to just ask
Walter Scott didn't get shot because of a bad family structure. Jordan Davis didn't get shot because of a bad family structure. We're dealing with a system of white supremacy.
Oh, that's a good point you're making. Mm-hmm. Had Trayvon Martin parents, Michael Brown parents been married?
They were married, but they got divorced and he was staying with his dad.
Had they stayed together and had they raised their children in a good way to respect themselves and others and
so you saying Trayvon Martin got shot because he didn't respect himself?
My question is, would
you ignore it?
Let's do Michael Brown first.
Oh no! Okay, let's go back to Trayvon.
Would Trayvon have been smoking pot, calling himself a thug?
Did that get him shot? Was that why George Zimmerman killed him? Smoking pot should not get you killed.
Had they had a strong family and a good father they respected.
He had a father, sir. He was staying with his father.
No, he was staying with different people.
He was staying with his father. He was at his father's house.
But my question is...
You deflected.
No, my question is, had they had good fathers and mothers guiding them who stayed together and raised their children...
Had he not been shot by a suspected white supremacist, he would be alive. Had he not been shot by a suspected white supremacist...
I'm trying to ask about the coonery thing.
Okay.
Had the family been tighter and stayed together and raised their children, would Trayvon Martin and others been different types of people?
Well, no matter what type of person he was, he
As
shouldn't
far
have been
as
killed.
character.
A kid
I
shouldn't
know,
have been
but
killed
answer
by
that question only about character.
Your
Would
character has nothing to do with you getting shot by some psychopath.
I'm asking, would they have been young men of character?
Your character has nothing to do with you getting killed by a psychopath.
Well, that's put aside. Would they have been men of character? Because you're
That's
saying that we're
sir,
cool.
that's like asking me if the
Why can't
people
you
if
answer
the,
that?
if the people in Germany, if they just would have pulled their pants up, would they not have been slaughtered in the Holocaust?
Why won't you answer that question?
Because it's a question that literally makes no sense. It makes zero sense.
Let me ask this. You know,
And you know it don't make no sense. It's a deflection, Jesse.
so you don't think
You
having
being messy, Jesse.
you think having a father and a mother together raising you and setting a good example is not a good thing?
I didn't say that. You keep
Is it a
trying
good
to.
thing?
It's a great thing.
Okay. Let me ask this.
But what about white supremacy?
I don't deal with white supremacists. I don't know what you mean by that because I've seen growing up. Let me ask you the question. I have seen growing up with white.
You don't deal
I'm
with. You
trying
don't
to
know
answer
what
the
white
question.
supremacy is, brother.
I'm trying to answer the question.
Okay.
When I was growing up, white supremacists was alive and well.
Right.
And yet we did better because we had family, we had fathers and mothers. We were taught to work hard, manage our lives, and we did better then than black folks are doing today.
How so? How so? How did you do better?
Tighter families.
But you would get lynched at the drop of a hat.
No,
brother. You would
not
get
true.
lynching was at an all-time high.
Not at an
Yes,
all-time
it was
high.
at
But
an
that's
all-time
not today.
high. You
But
would
I
get
wanna
lynched,
ask
and
you-
you couldn't go. You were suffocated. You couldn't go to certain
I need
places.
to ask you this because when we
No,
come
you
back, we
deflected
got to
again,
take
brother.
some calls.
Okay.
Do you love do people who attack black conservatives? They're called coons and niggers and Uncle Toms and sellout. Do you love the coons?
Do I love the coons?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't. What kind of questions are these? Do I love coons?
Yes.
For what? Why would I love a coon?
Is that a yes or no?
I don't love no coons.
You hate the coons?
I don't hate them. I don't love them. I want the coons to get away because
you
coons
care
are-
about the coons at
I
all?
do not. No,
You
I
do
don't.
not?
I don't really care about
But
coons.
why
because,
not?
Because coons have always sabotaged black progress.
But suppose-
we could have been out of antebellum slavery because we're still in a form of slavery. White supremacy is slavery within itself. But the first stage of slavery, which was antebellum slavery, we could have got out of it long ago if it weren't for the coons telling and snitching and being comfortable in that position.
But suppose the coons don't know that they're wrong. Why not show them love so that you can correct them?
So I got to hug a coon.
Because you're a pastor. You're a preacher.
I am, but I'm not
Should
trying
you
to hug.
show love? Well, we're not talking about hugging and kissing.
Jesus
but having
rebuked the
patience with them.
demons, and that's the coons are demons, and I'm rebuking the coon demon and the coon spirit.
But
just
you
like
don't
Jesus
love. Do you
did.
love the coons?
I don't love the coons.
You don't love the coons.
No,
But Jesus
coons are
loved the
evil.
coons.
No, but Jesus ran people out of the temple when
Back
they
in a
weren't
moment.
on top of their game.
Back in a moment. We'll take some calls.
Before we see it, you take it. Hey! You got to pay back. Revenge.
I'm looking at the clock here, folks, and the time is going by like 90, going north.
Yes.
I need some quick yes or no answers, and then I want to go to the phone for you, all right? In 1964, out of wedlock birth was 26% for black people. Today, it is 73%. Is that good? And is that hurting the black community in any way?
It's definitely hurting the black community because the white supremacists orchestrated it. So it is bad.
White people making them have babies out of wedlock?
They've orchestrated the family structure to be marginalized, and they've taken the black man out of the home. So the white supremacists are responsible for that by economic deprivation and other things.
Why is it that the black man is so weak that after all these years, he allows that to happen?
You tell me. You're
why-
black. How come you allowed it to happen in the 60s? You're much older
No,
than
I
me.
mean,
You didn't. Why did you
not
let
as
it
a
happen?
group, not as a group, but individually. Why? Because it's not happening to me. It never happened to me. When I was growing up on the plantation, We worked for ourselves. We never relied on the government. We did for ourselves. Let me
But
ask
you're
this.
black, though. You know what I'm saying? So you're part of the black collective as well, and that's a question that you have to pose to yourself. Because
But I'm not
were
a
you
part
too
of
weak
I'm not a
to
part
let
of
that
the-
happen to the black community?
I am. First of all, I'm not a part of the black collective or the white collective.
Oh, really? What part are you from?
I am an American, and I love what's right, and I have the same love for all people, including
Now,
my enemies.
America is only 200 years old. What were you before you were an American?
Before I was born.
No, but what were you before you were an American genetically? Did you come from like the Coontron Milky Way galaxy or something? And you came over on a flying saucer full of butter biscuits and landed on the plantation?
No,
Where'd you come from?
I was born in Alabama.
Right.
I was born here in this country.
But you say you're an American. What were you before you were an American genetically?
I have always been an American.
But before America's only 200 years old. Before you were an American.
I have always been.
I understand that.
I was born
genetically.
Here. But let me ask you this.
Okay, go ahead. You're going to deflect, but go ahead, brother.
Right. I was looking at kind of getting a little background on you last night.
Yes, sir.
And I noticed that guys like you are very talented. And
you call me a radical on Twitter. What's a black radical, by the way? What's a black radical?
A person that attacks others and call them coon rather than coming together to work out the issue.
But you can't work to get an issue out with a coon, though.
But you can.
Coons are there to sabotage black progress.
Let me ask this.
Go ahead, sir.
And I'm a coon along with Kobe Bryant, Don Lemon, and others, according to this report. I am helping to rebuild families. I'm showing blacks how to overcome their anger, encouraging them to get married before having children out of wedlock, to start businesses, to get a good education, to love instead of hate.
But you won't speak out against white supremacy. You ignore white supremacy, and you make excuses for white supremacy, and that's the problem.
How is that holding black? Am I holding black people back by doing those things?
But you're not. You're making excuses for white supremacy, and you're giving leeway to white supremacy, and you've become the mouthpiece of white supremacists.
Am I holding blacks back, though, by doing those things
I do?
It
doesn't hold black people back, but it sabotages black progress, because when the white supremacists, when they go out here and do things, they put you out there in the forefront, and they hide their deeds behind you or people like you. Sir.
Where is your proof that they're putting Clarence Thomas, Allen West, Larry Elder, Herman Cain, Kobe Bryant, Don Lemon, and me out there?
Because people who challenge white supremacy are not put in the spotlight like that. That's why.
So that's your proof?
That's the proof. The people that they put out there, those people you name, who we see
this is what I want to say.
We see all the time talking about so-called black issues. These are the people they put in the forefront instead of people who can really challenge systematic white supremacy.
Do you support same-sex marriage?
I don't care about that. If people want to do that, that's their thing.
But you don't support it personally.
It's not a part of what I do.
Do you support it personally?
If they want to do that, that's fine. I
know
that,
but do you personally support it?
I haven't really thought about it like that. It's because it's not an issue for me. I'm not in that community.
How about abortion?
I don't mind them doing what they do. Yeah. If they want to do that, let them do it. I'm not going to protest them.
How about abortion?
Abortion, that's fine. If people don't want to have a kid, I support abortion.
I was thinking, and I want to make this point because I realize you guys have good talent. I love the Coon Train. I look forward to it.
And it's satire. It's fun. It's satire.
Yeah, it is. It really is. But why don't you take your talent, and you still can do the Coon Train thing, but why not expose what's happening, really killing black Americans, like abortion, for example, every day, according to blackgenocide.com. 1,200 to 1,800 black babies are aborted every day. And a lot of black people don't know that. Young black girls are having abortion like 90 going north, right?
I understand that. And the abortion, and that was the Planned Parenthood that was caused by the white supremacist Margaret Sanger and all of those eugenicists and all those people. Yeah, I'm very familiar with that.
70% of Planned Parenthood abortion mills are in the inner cities.
So why do you not criticize the white supremacists for orchestrating something so devious like that?
I do criticize that. We've protested, though. We've tried to shut down the mills in the communities. But we can't get you guys to get on board. My question is, why not make videos and films? Because people watch your videos. Why not go in the community and expose those things as well? Because you love the blacks, right?
I understand that, but once we stop abortion, now we got to stop the white supremacists for killing people when they grow up. So what are we going to do about that?
But you can take one step at a time, and you can put the abortion mills out of business.
White supremacy is the major step. We always want to take other steps besides challenging and replacing the system of white supremacy.
Why not take your videos and do the Coon thing, but also
I do documentary films too. The Coon
expose real white supremacists by exposing Margaret Sanger and the abortion mills that are in the inner cities, the black-on-black violence. Let the people
Which is
see
orchestrated
that.
by white supremacy. Black-on-black violence is orchestrated by white supremacy.
But my
too.
question, my point is, you have great talent.
Yes, sir.
You can impact them by waking them up,
I do.
allowing them to see those things too. And once they're educated about those things, maybe more black people get out there and stop that. Why not do that?
But I can do that, and I do that. I do that all the time. But then
You
after
did
we do
things
that,
on
I do
abortion?
that. I talked about abortion in my
No, have you
documentaries.
done-
I have.
you
In
done
my
video?
Hidden Colors documentaries, we talked about Margaret Sanger and abortion and Planned Parenthood. We talked about that.
Yeah.
And after we talk about abortion, we still got to go right back to white supremacy because that's the
Because
main
you're right
culprit.
about Margaret Sanger.
Right.
I want to get some calls in. I can go on and on.
Well, I
with
swear,
you.
you will change the subject. When we start talking about white supremacy, you change the subject.
Let's go.
Jesse.
I'm not changing. I'm looking
Boy,
at the
you are
clock. I
messy,
have on a
Jesse.
minute.
Jesse,
Let's
you
go
so
to
messy.
Kevin out
Go
of
ahead.
Arizona. Kevin, you are. See,
We got the
it's
music.
a break time.
Man.
Hold on, Kevin. We'll come back to you. We're going to have you back. That's what's needed.
Yes.
Okay. Back in a moment, folks.
The beat goes on. To bring some loving here today. Oh, picket lines and picket signs.
These are times, it's times like this when I wish we could avoid commercials and things.
Yes, indeed.
Tariq, give out your website, tell the folks how to get your books and get to your radio show and all the things.
Yes,
you're doing.
indeed. They can go
and
to-
watch the Coon Train.
Yes, the Coon Train.
Am I
on
going to
YouTube.
make the Coon Train this year?
Yeah, we might have to get another one for you. Where you're doing a solo dance down the Coon Train.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, TariqRadio.com. That's where you can listen to my podcast. Get my documentary films at HiddenColorsFilm.com. You guys can follow me on Twitter at Tariq Nasheed and follow me on Instagram at Tariq Elite.
All right. And will you come back?
I will absolutely come back, and you'll come on my show, right?
Anytime.
Yes,
I would
indeed.
love to. I want to get to the call, and we have about 3 minutes left here. But
Okay.
someone texted me a while back. They want to know, why didn't white supremacy stop Oprah, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Bob Johnson of BET? They're all billionaires. Why weren't they stopped by the white supremacists?
Because white supremacists will always put a few black people in token positions and will leave the other black masses in a system of deprivation. So white supremacy has always had tokenism.
So those people didn't make it on their own?
They didn't make it on their own, but just
They
because
did
they
or
made
they
it on their
didn't?
own, they made it on their own. But just because a few black people are in what's called token positions, that don't mean that white supremacy doesn't exist for the
So
black masses.
is Obama in a token position
Yes,
as
he is,
president?
because he cannot even say African American, let alone do anything for African Americans. So he's in a token position. Absolutely.
Kevin, thanks for calling. Thanks for holding you on the air.
Hey, guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning. Good to speak with you, Mr. Tariq Nasheed and Mr. Peterson.
Thank you.
I want to say everything that you're saying, sir, is actually putting holes in all of your arguments, and I want to know why. Here's my question. Mr. Tariq Nasheed comes on the show and has all these excellent points, and it reminds me that there is a Negro, a Sambo, in every single capitalized society. In Australia, it's the Aborigine. In Brazil, it's the Sambo.
Ask
In
your
Northern
question
America-
because of time. Get to your question. I'm running
Okay.
out of time.
Okay, so why are you capitalizing off white supremacy?
And how am I
It
doing
seems to me
that?
that how you're doing that is by pushing the agenda. Everything you say is an oxymoron. Psalm 9:9 says the Lord is a stronghold for the oppressed, but yet you say we're to love the oppressed.
Okay, so let me ask. So by rebuilding the black family is wrong?
No, that's not what you're doing. You're making
About
money off of...
no, hold on. By educating blacks, by starting a private school without any money from the government, is that wrong?
Yes, because you're
That's
teaching the
wrong.
oppressed to love their
No, we're
oppressors.
teaching reading, writing, arithmetic, and we teach them a trade. Is that
No,
wrong?
you're playing James Brown, I'm mad, and Marvin Gaye. What's
I got it
going
wrong.
on?
I'm sorry. Tariq, come back again.
I will
all right?
definitely come back, and Jesus loved the coons.
And to
like you said.
the callers, we'll take your calls next time.
Produced by Bond, Brotherhood Organization of a New Destiny. Views expressed by guests and callers on today's program may not necessarily represent the views of the station. For more information, call 1-800-411-BOND. That's 1-800-411-BOND. Or visit our website at bondinfo.org.